So there it was, just enjoying my, you know, relaxation and writing bibliographies and whatnot. And then I made that mistake of mentioning October 13th, or I mean, I said it was July 13th because that was when I read this book, The Fire Tried Stone. Kitty. Hey, kitty. And, but it was actually the day that it starts out in the book is October 13th, 1956. And so I mentioned that, and like I mentioned all these things tying to October 13th that I know about that tie, like go back to 2021 when I remember that had happened and I saw October 13th was 666. And so it stood out to me since then. And then I further, like I was studying triangular UFOs on my own and just kind of going into it, not realizing, like, first of all, I witnessed the Phoenix Lights in 1997 in Mesa with my sister and my stepmom and my dad. Like, my dad jokes about it because he knows it was something strange. But they even gaslighted the public at the time, like the Fife Symington guy. But anyway, the whole triangular UFOs, I think, it's a unique situation. Like that's this book I happened to order October 11th, and yet then there was and I was studying and listening to this guy, David Marler. He has some really good lectures and discussions, like with Alejandro Rojas and some others. And I had gotten this book eventually, and then literally October 13th came around, and I was wondering if anything would happen. But then, sure enough, there was like this alleged UFO, some sort of like UFO crash in DC or in or around DC, allegedly. Uh, Triangular UFO, which this David Marler says they go back to at least 1882, and Edgar Fouché wants to. He's like of that class. There's like people that really want to use the triangle UFO as this idea that it's ours, we make it. Um, but it doesn't appear that that's the case. But then there was this like 1 month later, the congressional hearing. Where did I have that pulled up? It's somewhere. Um, Lou Elizondo is all over that. Jeremy Corbell is just in the back, but then this guy talked about Immaculate Constellation, and which kind of linguistically references or relates to, in a sense, like Immaculate Conception, and therefore makes me think of the abduction program, which again I've studied that with. I mean, I've got like memories of that too. So um, there's just something to the fact that people who like prior to studying any of this will have memories or experiences without even any interest in it. And I found this other book, actually the Edgar Fouché book that I happened to just recently get, Alien Rapture, happens to be inscribed by Ed Fouché to Nick Redfern. Where is it? That's which was interesting because he must have got rid of it, not wanting it, because Ed Fouché kind of went crazy towards the end there, supposedly, according to David Marler. But then this other Black Triangle book, the Black Triangle Abduction, and these black triangles are known for numerous things, such as like hypnotic effects, paralysis, and the the memory loss associated with abduction. But so yeah, so in addition to the Phoenix lights, like I've had a blue orb come in my room at night, and that led me to believe, like, when analyzing it and then also studying other people's reports, it seems like that's a part of the abduction phenomena. Um, and yeah, it's usually like these little memory triggers will act as uh, memory wipes, and which is funny because I've known memory as 365, which is kind of important relating to Ganesha, the elephant, time itself. But then memory wipe wipe would be 466, and then wiper memory wiper, like in the whole Men in Black, like the parody idea of like just some sort of device that can erase your memory. I found that kind of profound. Um, that guy's weird looking. Anyway, just considering the fact when I like this whole Washington D.C. UFO incident of 1952, which Donald Keogh talks about, especially in this book, the Flying Saucer Conspiracy, which it's just crazy. Like I've collected all these books on flying saucers or UFOs, which now they talk like about UAPs because of the fact that it's they're not just flying; they're anomalous in many different ways. They can be like atmospheric, they can be in the ocean, they can be like from the ocean to the air, and yet nothing's really changed in such a long time. Not just I mean, the UFOs have seemed to change. Like the triangle, it seems weird because it's deceptive in that it seems newer, but it goes back before what they call the airship sightings of the 1897s or 1890s, really, but 1897 was the main year. Um, so it's just a lot to process. Uh, Liber Aleph, which kind of is insightful, was on the day of the Phoenix Lights, or no, not the day of July 13th, the same year as the Phoenix Lights, same day essentially, but then 4 months later. But I always just see that because 311 really is actually the day that Lynn Katai really, I think she said she first saw the Phoenix Lights and then she filmed them the 13th. Um, but 311 and 313 are really like, I don't know, there's something to those regarding this whole UFO thing, I think. Just, it's hard to exactly just assert that without going into all of it, but certainly this like 1013 is a prime number. So that stands out to me. It's I think the 170th. So 1009 is the 169th. 169 is 13 times 13. And something to do with this 13 and the lunar connection and this secretion idea Kenneth Grant goes into. And so 81, like I really thought about for like over a year for the last post, 81 being Alim and 9 times 9 relating to the moon. There's this manifestation process that has to do with especially 13 and the whole death cycle and transformation and whatnot. There's like a lot of creative and destructive sort of polarities in 13. But it's just funny because 10, 13, when contemplating the whole black triangle or these flying triangles or deltas, they call them different things, but it makes me think of this relationship between Malkuth and Yesod, but also Saturn. And it's funny because black triangle is 369, which is a Yesod number, but Yesod, meaning the moon, is also a sort of like a magnitude or like a gradation of Saturn. It grades Saturn in a sense, but there is something to do with this whole idea of magic, the code of magic. For example, the fact code Gimel Aleph or Gimel Ayin Daleth Hey is 82, or with the Cheth would be 87, which would be UAP. This whole 5 off thing, 5 being Hey, which is the essentially. It's just funny because it usually represents a sort of innovation, and this whole UFO UAP differentiation is, I think, going to come up more. Like FOIA is 87, FOIA, and then in the Ninth Arch, like I kind of wanted to go into some of these things. The third chapter leads up to 87, which is one of the only like in main explicit references to the Greys, essentially the way of the Grey Ones, and linking it to Lamb. But this reference in 81, in a homely cave set in a calm hillside, connects to 333 and this sort of like the cave connection to Doth. And really, I mean, this whole Ninth Arch book talks about these like holes in the ground that lead to like they're like portals in a sense, but they're not. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to assert. Oh, they're portals. Well, where are they portals to? Well, they're not really necessarily portals to. They're portals from the, like you could say, the Mauve Zone, but really the phi or the spiral from within. But 82. But how would or could you know? And how is again 81. How and who connected this whole. There's something in 82 that's a mystery that I've been trying to pick at. 82 is 11 less than 93, and it's the code of magic. So I just showed its code, but magic, the Cheth and then Kof is 82. Kenneth Grant mentions how it's Laban, which is like, he says, a powerful magician, I think in Hecate's Fountain. But then it's also Faust, who's also this archetypal German magician. But what was I going to say about that? There's something, some process essentially happening, but it's like, it's hard to say with the one, but you can see it. It's this reflective thing, which Abhasa or Abhasavada. It was when I was reading and translating the Tantra Loka. Where is it? This book, like it's a big thick book, but Abhinavagupta, a historical and philosophical study, came up, and it's the first half is densely about Abhinavagupta, but then the second half begins talking about Abhasavada, and that happened like 82 started shining through the whole 81 timeline or process or whatever really early, and I remember it being with Abhasavada. And Abhasavada, to translate it, is basically mere or fallacious appearance, reflection, looking like, light, semblance of reason, intention. And so again, this 81 being Alim, or the creative powers, 82 being essentially magic. It's really Shiva also, but then also Amma, and Amma, or Mama, is like the mother. And so this, again, this duality of, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like the word twilight is also 82, and twilight, which connects to the between. Really, the Book of the Dead is the book of the like liberation of the between, and so between and twilight, which is kind of like in between the two, night and day. There's something to do with again this emanation, manifestation, which is actually summarized in this term Guayakala, and I couldn't remember like how is it 82, but it's with this U right here. Guayakala. Guayakala. And this is the secret time, which Guya, like Guya Garba, the Guya Garba Tantra, or Guya Samaja, the secret community. Guya means secret. Kala means essentially emanation or time or manifestation. And what else? Oh yeah, Adhyasa. So the root of Abhasavada, vada meaning like teaching or learning or understanding or wisdom, kind of like vidya. Abhasavada comes from abhasa, which means semblance or reflection. Projection. So again, Maya in a sense. And then Adhyasa is also 82, and it means superimposition. So like when things overlap, profound or abstract contemplation also. But there's different sort of like contexts, I guess. But adhyas, to place upon another, add or append to. Preside over, influence, rule, which, and then you got Bhumiti, and Bhumiti means essentially geometry or cartography, like to map out, but then, which comes from Bhumi, which relates to the 5 elements, which are important for this post, but then Vastu is also 82, and Vastu means essentially architecture, especially of like a house or a temple. So yeah, I did Amma, and then Atma Vidya itself, which is self-knowledge or self-wisdom, or spiritual knowledge, supreme knowledge essentially of the relationship between Amma and Shiva, and also Akash. So instead of like just Akasha, Akash or Akas, to shine, sky or heavens. So again, the twilight. And so like this twilight language, which I've mentioned in the last few posts, like goes forward and backward. And it's funny because like guide is 28, and then guidance, guidance with a gimel. Oops. Guidance is 82. So I don't know, like all that's been coming through, just like this this black triangle, and 1013, like it's definitely something to do with dates and languages, or like not languages, but messages and codes being in dates. Check digit is also 82, or I guess with both cheths. Which that's the whole thing about the cheth and the gimel and these like nuances, is they kind of keep, it's like a check digit in regards to these things. Which what was I gonna say? I know I need to read the post, but like there's just all that I wanted to get out. I happen to have posted on February 22nd, which is like Groundhog's Day, another day that actually comes up in relation to like UFO sightings quite often. At least it came up in a bunch of times when I've read a few different books recently. This Bud Hopkins book, I believe, Missing Time, and then also this Jenny Randall's book about the year 1992. And basically what I see relating these like dates and the UFOs seeming to have a code, like Magick seems to be one of like somehow related to the UFOs, not just in that Crowleyan like obvious sense, like oh Crowley tried to open a portal or something. Like I don't think it's all attributed to just him. Clearly, like they go back way before that. But the idea of like them not necessarily being all together from another, even star system. Like some may, I think there's just different things, but the whole, what is it, paradigm that we look and consider aliens, um, it's hard to say it would be benefited by like knowledge of magic, because I really don't think it's necessarily that so much, because grimoires are by no means even straightforward, but it's hard to explain. There's also, from what I've gathered, there's very little overlap in any of the of it all, other than the fact that like it seems to be a whole different system operating on similar terms as what we would, the closest thing you could look at regarding magic, and like hours, what they call the magical hours, planetary hours and days, and time being more suitable at certain times for things like operations, essentially. I think that having that insight helps to see, and then also the Hindu sort of addition of looking at time and planetary cycles as being like fertile, and fertility essentially being the Samkhya, and then like fertility, the whole Samkhya elemental theory, and fertility tying into time seems to be like whatever. That's the whole problem, is there's so many different instances of like classes of UFOs or UAP, that it's hard to say, because there could be like, it could be a planetary thing, like there could be Saturnian UFOs, there could be Venusian UFOs and Martian UFOs. But again, all that gets into such speculative, wildness, that it's like, what am I trying to get to other than that? I don't know. I've really been contemplating it. And other than the fact that the codes like seem to show that there is a functional like underlying vastu, I guess, or just like geometry underlying what little fragmentary bits we get. Like that's the whole thing about this date of the triangle crash 1013 2024, is like most UFO sightings are tantamount to that, like just a little snippet of what may, like, at least all it does is lead you to wonder, like, and yet we had this hearing and they didn't mention anything about it, and it's just kind of strange, like all of it. And it makes me think, because I was also contemplating and really looking into these reports in 2009 and 2018 of like UFOs parked, like stationed, these like not triangles but pyramids, essentially like parked over the Kremlin and also the Pentagon, which the reports seem like they're trying to come across as serious, but the videos don't look very realistic, although videos weren't the greatest back then at the same time. But like, I don't know, but something is going on with these, and it seems to me like, I don't know, all it makes me do like wonder is if they're just trying to not create even a panic, but create such skepticism that in the face, like they could do anything and no one would believe it. Which is funny, because there's been so much, like decades after decades of like major sightings, minor sightings, mass sightings, credible, like various people, Pentagon sightings, Navy ship sightings, nuclear missile silo sightings, like continuous, like ongoing abductions. But anyway, that's why I guess like the science of the magic art. I talked about these weapons, but they're not necessarily weapons as a defense, but sort of like creative tools. Um, and I said the chapters regarding the magical weapons are continued along with Liber 412 or Liber A Vel Armorum, an instruction for the preparation of the elemental instruments. It's funny I still said Liber, even though I don't know why. I knew it was Liber, but probably just going fast. As should be gleaned from a chronological review of the foregoing libers and chapters, the magical weapon of the sword is associated with the sun, Vav, in Tifereth, which is the center of the Ruach or intellect. The Ruach is the cube of space, spoken of in the Tarot, a type of metaphysical hypercube in which the inner and outer aspects of this cube reciprocate about the mind, creating what we distinguish as manifestation or reality, i.e., existence, and what is called imagination and nous or mind, manas. And so what comes to mind is how the archangel of Tifereth is Raphael, which is 311, which is the same as essentially Zaphkiel and I forgot the other Timura of it, but this archangel of Saturn and Binah essentially. And so the inner and the outer, the idea or this illusion of outer. The sword in the Kabbalah is related to the lightning bolt of Lux, descending from Kether to Malkuth and then returning back to the source via the serpent, symbolic of Shiva or Apophis, the destroyer, i.e., the destruction of the sham, mem final being 600, of the illusion for its reformulation according to the will of the reborn Magus. Note that the mirror is one of the unnamed weapons of the Magus, and its value as 720, or 360 plus 360, equates it with Medusa. In the myth, Medusa is defeated with the help of a mirror, symbolic of the self-control of the mind, nous, through yoga. 720 is 80 times 9, or Yesod, expanded in its sphere. Crowley said, the sword divides Satan against Satan. So it is noteworthy that the original Hebrew Satan, or Shaitan, 359, plus the English Satan, 361, together add up to 720 as well. It's also 19 times 19, which is that solar number, either defeating or empowering, like a serpent, Satan. Depending on if you're feeding your solar energy to it. In the Holy Book of the Great Invisible Spirit, or otherwise known as the Gospel of the Egyptians, the Domedon Doxomedon is 665, and is the Lord of the house, the one parent of all who is hidden like Amun and typified by silence like Lamb and Harpocrates. It is called the Aeon of the Aeons, also 666. The cosmic fire of Pantheos, the cosmic being, the omnipresent and omnipotent one in and beyond all, the true hidden God. This is the fallen and forgotten Lux, the light, one true God of man, for Lucifer is the angelic God of light, and the electric current, which condenses into one word, or one formula, one current, upon which our civilization runs, the misused magical force. Again, this sort of solar energy inverted. Abraxas and Canubis are earlier forms of Baphomet as they combine the dual contending forces of light and dark, like the dual nature of the Kundalini resolving in the third, and thus the demiurge, which they all symbolize as merely the reality tunnel or matrix of the Magus. Doubled 666 becomes 1332. Canubis, the lion serpent, or 36 times 37. Matter multiplied by spirit, or the dukkha, suffering, of chitta, thought. Another little egg I found relating to Abraxas, which I do want to mention, Demiurge happens to be 82, but then so does Basilisk, which I'm about to mention, and Vovin, the Enochian word for dragon, the Way, which is like that reality tunnel, and Trinu, which is Crowley mentions because it sits at 6, but relates to this sacred bottle in Rabelais' book of Gargantua and Pantagruel, or really the 5th book. Trink, which means like cheers, almost like drink, but relates again to this like Trinity or like 3 of Cups concept, or 3 tri-new. Triple goddess new. What was I gonna do? Another little egg I found relating to Abraxas is the cockatrice, a type of reptilian bird that is said to be hatched from an egg laid by a cock, 107, or a male chicken. So a cock and a chicken both equal 107. The egg, or cocca, short for cockatrice, the Abraxas reptile bird egg. Wouldn't the reptile bird be the phoenix or dragon again, the recurring or reincarnating egg spirit? Also, cock egg equals 107 too, using Gimel instead of Cheth as in the former, as further confirmation of this draconian connection of the egg, which enabled me to unlock the formula of the reptilian bloodline, which is the blood of the reptilian, i.e. the draconian or Ophidian force of astral gold. The reptile's third eye is also 666, which equates with the human's pineal gland, or human pineal glands, and DMT crystals and some other interesting formulae, but as well the organ which is activated in order to appreciate the gold radiance of the lamp. Note that lamb has been considered to be a type of fetus conceived not by a woman but by a male, namely Crowley himself. Lamb the way is 107, thus corresponding the ideas. Much of this is metaphor. The reptilians feed off of blood or gold because they are parasites, and much like the vampire, have no inner source. They are clifothic forces which are to be destroyed, transmuted, and themselves used as food for the magus. A magus is 111, an incarnation from and of the white light descending from Kether. 222 is the degree system of initiation in the Grand Lodge of the Great Architect in the living library of trans-dimensional books, as well as the reminder to breathe, for the breath is the divine word of God spoken by all who are alive and stirs the life force, or a prana. 333 is Karanzon, the gatekeeper of the egg of space-time, which is the seed of the tree of life, which unfolds via the basic fundamental laws of mathematics and can be easily interpreted via the literal Kabbalah, through Gematria, which acts as a natural astral book of shadows. 555 is the master degree of balance between the fractals, or what is anciently called the Kabbalah of 9 chambers, or essentially 111 through 999, and contain the primary gnosis of the Kabbalah. 777 is the revelation of the Encyclopedia of Gematria Codes, which was first published by Aleister Crowley as Liber 777, or really Sefer Sephiroth in that, and has been updated with not only Hebrew but Greek, Hebrew English, New Eon English Kabbalah, Jewish Gematria, Simple Gematria, and Hebrew Sanskrit values, which show the complete underlying mathematical structure of the many but completely connected ancient and modern languages, soon to be available to the public online. Thus, I have myself transcribed a veritable form of the Gnostic book of true magic, and have attained the secret 33rd degree which even the Masons have yet to discover, as they deny themselves the key of Freemasonry, which they have long lost. I am trying to convey to you the nature of the Philosopher's Stone, which is not physically but truly metaphysical, the process of alchemical transmutation which conveys it as a key, or conveys it is a key to its attainment. The process of alchemical transmutation which conveys it is a key to its attainment. This process, or the school of inner light, the Azoth, can lead you to the supreme knowledge of the higher power, if but you can understand the nature of the one substance in its blinding yet invisible light. All this is contained in the egg of spirit, which contains universal creative potential. These are merely a sort of index to the completely consistent concrete formalizations according to the specific formulaic patterns. The evolution of the numbers is the evolution of the worlds, for as it is written in the Clavicula Salomonis, the numbers are ideas and the ideas are the powers, and the powers are the holy Elohim of life. That which is behind and beyond all number and all thought, even as the Ein Sof with its mighty veils depending back from Kether, is behind and beyond all manifestation, is the number 0. Its symbol is the very emblem of infinite space and infinite time. Aleister Crowley in a note on Genesis. Though there are slight variations with a few letters, Teth, Tau, Samek and Shin, and Gimel and Cheth, these do not allow, and the final values, which only occur obviously once into their code usually, and so like there's usually only one final letter, and the fact that it would make a triple number is usually stands out. These do not allow for a total change of any and all word values, but a particularly limited change according to whether those letters are used, and when done so, provide a small number of variations, which can be still insightful, especially when considered as a further form of cryptography, like in other directions. For example, the circle, when spelled with both a Cheth and Gimel, unveil the phrase or formula to be 666. The number of the great solar circle, the planet's circle, and therefore the micro and macrocosmic cyclical force, i.e. life and death and nature itself, the circle of life. 999, however, is the value of the Greek periago, meaning to go in a circle, as well as perfection. So it doesn't have to just go one way, but the circle and the egg are obviously related, and to go in a circle indicates the nature of the ritual of manifestation. Thus, in going in circles, the cosmic force is channeled like a whirlpool or vortex to the central column where micro and macrocosms meet. This is the funnel effect mentioned in Dark Doorway of the Beast, which attracts the necessary currents invoked and weaves them around the focused will. By encoding and decoding formulae, such as I have been illustrating, a type of spell work is established, albeit more mathematically precise than some traditional methods which go about it only based on intuition rather than also intellect. One more than 999 gives 1,000, the capital Aleph, which signifies a newly born microcosm, or the rupture of the inverted circle, which involves the creation of a new magical universe or magical child, or moonchild. Know that the spell is already effected long before you physically perform or even consciously construct it. Its power is already formulated enough in essence to enable the tendency toward it. In this respect, gematria also helps because you can determine many threads which have woven to create any idea or illusion, and can easily be deconstructed or reconstructed through breaking down of its component parts to fundamental factors. Thus, 666 is diffused in 9, the end of the cycle or age which brings not only death but a new life. Any of the sorrows which 666 may be associated with can always be shed and renewed or even benefited from in the light of another golden dawn. I just do not understand how people for this long could not have realized that this was not an accident. I have provided the undeniable evidence that the Hebrew-English formula is pretty unique among the others. Ironically, while it seems to indicate knowledge, 666 is also the value of to not know, the nature of death and doth. Who is to say who knows what and who doesn't, if someone or other themselves doesn't even know, other than the knower? Hear me, ye people of sighing, the sorrows of pain and regret are left to the dead and the dying. The folk that know or not know me as yet. These are dead, these fellows they feel not. We are not for the poor and sad. The lords of the earth are our kinsfolk. Is it God to live in a dog? No, but the highest are of us. They shall rejoice, our chosen. Who sorroweth is not of us. Beauty and strength, leaping laughter and delicious languor, force and fire are of us. A.L. chapter 3, 17 through 19. Note that the science of the magic art is equivalent with Hachakma Shul Kabbalah, the wisdom of the Kabbalah. The one substance which is utilized in both is the divine light. The layman is intended to contain and express the lux. The value of the magic fire, 322, has been demonized as with all illuminating and empowering keys. The skull and bones use it in a qliphothic sense, but magic is the art of the control of the qliphoth, and therefore it is also a key. But magic is the art of the control of the qlipheth, and therefore it is also a key thereof. 322 is the number of Shiva with a shin, so 82 is related to 322, the destroyer of illusions. It is also the number of Ormazd, a form of Ahura Mazda, the divine embodiment of light and Lucifer, which together is also 322. The skull and bones, 333, conceal O and the X, or the O and the X, the rose and the cross, or the light / Lucifer, 322, of the auric egg, etc. It is also the value of Raphael, spelled out, the archangel of the sun, whose name means the healing of God, i.e. the healing light. Thus, 322 conceals the nature of the magic armor, or panoplia, every weapon. Properly, a complete set of defensive and offensive armor or weapons, i.e. everything needed to wage successful warfare. The magical, and so it makes me think again of the war engine of Ra-Hoor-Khaat, and this whole, I don't know, just, there's some triangular nature to that, but the magical witchcraft weapons which together combine the power of the magic fire source, or the cosmic fire, have now been revealed. They may be activated and empowered according to your own inner flame. And flame is also 82. So this light. Note that Shiva is a Tamura of Aiwass, the ancient flame of illumination cruelly associated with his holy guardian angel or intelligence of Tifereth. Another hidden spelling of Aiwass is Ivos, which Grant gives somewhere, but which equals 93 when S is taken in its sigma form of 6. This came to me when meditating upon 93 as the Ik Onkar, this connection between Shiva and Aiwass, as Om, and visualizing it as a serpent with its head raised. I also realized that Shiva and Aiwass also esoterically connect to Ophawis, or Wepwawet, also, the opener of ways, and Apophis, the devouring serpent. Though all of these forms have been feared and are said to represent darkness and evil, they are merely embodiments of the limitless potential and hidden nature of the unconscious forces, which are the source and substance of magical power. 666 is the communion with the demiurge, the realization of oneness with all as pantheos. And so this, it makes me think of really the Condign report, which I actually have pulled up, and how they try to say that the black triangle is like refracted plasma fields, essentially. Like every excuse they give for everything is just so ridiculous. But if that's the case, then it, in some alchemical way, they've got to be piercing through our like what we call the present with like with technology of some sort. So I don't know. I mean, what is it? Oh yeah, because is also 82, or can be. What is it? Is it with a gimel? Yeah, with a gimel. But because comes up, like Nuit mentions it. My incense is of resinous woods and gums. There is no blood therein, because of my hair, the trees of eternity. And then, because is essentially like entified, or I wouldn't say deified, but demonized. Because of me in thee, which thou knowest not. So again, this knowest not, the infinite and the factor infinite and unknown. It's really this universal. The thing I mentioned when I was like saying the one, but like relating to 81 and 82, and this process of the one manifesting itself through the numbers and through these relations usually being one off. For why? Because thou wast the knower and me. So it's like this this twilight duality between that really it typifies Atma Vidya, really. But there is great danger in me, for who doth not understand these runes shall make a great miss. He shall fall down into the pit called Because, and there he shall perish with the dogs of reason. Now a curse upon Because and his kin. May Because be accursed forever. And so 29 is the corresponding number with 82 that makes 111, or Aleph. If will stops and cries why, invoking because, then will stops and does not. So again, like when will questions itself, it's invoking because, and it's therefore doing its will another way. The will is the way. And so it's just funny, like, if power asks why, then is power weakness. Also reason is a lie, for there is a factor infinite and unknown, and all their words are skew-wise. Enough of because be he damned for a dog. But ye, O my people, rise up and awake. So that ties back in with, is a god to live in a dog? And so because is damned for a dog. And so like there's this rising up out of that duality, I think, that it's hard to explain, but it's just weird, this 11 away from 93, and yet 82 is like, I don't know, I think it's funny because UFO is 82, code, magic, or magic with a C, magic with a cheth as C, the UFO code of magic and being 82, and 82 is just, it's funny because like 369 is 9 times 41. 41, Kenneth Grant mentions, is like the 41 lettered name of, or call of Cthulhu. That comes to mind. But I don't know. 41's kind of an elusive number, but I've slowly gotten closer to it in terms of understanding, especially with just understanding Sanskrit, like the letter Ma is 41. I don't know. I know that I made a list of all the numbers, like all the 41, what 41 like adds up into. And it all relates to ufology. But what is the UFO other than, again, like a secretion of some sort? I mean, even nuts and bolts, like the triangle craft, which seem to be one of the most advanced technologically, like especially considering some are the size of, like, I wouldn't say cities, but it can cover a few city blocks. I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and try to, like, I've sat here and like wondered if there would be like a blaring obvious key to it, but I've made a list of the triple numbers, and I'll probably just post it as another like appendix of some sort, because I'm not going to just go into them all. But the I don't know. There's a lot to say regarding the geometry of it all, though. Like brings into mind the whole like Lucius Trust, Alice Bailey triangles group, B999 that I've mentioned. Triangles being 999. Like there is a lot of triple numbers relating to ufology in general, but then some of these specific instances or anecdotal reports spanning almost every year for the last almost 200 years. There's definitely something going on. I just felt like I didn't know this would all come up. I knew 82 was a UFO, but I was going to probably like put it off talking about UFOs just because nothing really has come up regarding them. But then just to me, the whole like fact I got a book that 2 days before, like a pretty important thing that they just covered up, kind of like scooted under the rug. Like even at the time it happened, if you go watch some of the videos, it's just kind of weird. Like to me, the literary synchronicity alone is like interesting. But then you got all these programs and existing research and development. I really don't know what to make of it. I'm interested to see where it goes though, especially between now and if I can like not spend so long to read this blog. I wanted to have this done like in 2016, which was another 9 year, but I guess maybe it'll take 9 years. What is it? 2000, 2 plus 1 plus 6, 2 plus 2 plus 5. Yeah. What am I forgetting? I don't know. I would just like to say, like, I don't know, like, I'm not going to go read all this. But the Condyne report, which is weird when you consider the meaning of Condyne, the Condyne report is probably more informative than anything in this congressional report or anything since. And yet it's overlooked. And yet, like, here's the thing, it's trying to chalk everything up to, like, essentially weather phenomena as like all these different reports that they've had do. But in having to, like, as the things have advanced and developed and changed and altered and like eluded their explanations, they've had to give like their new explanations give more like better insight into what's been going on. It's hard to find, like, when I found the PDFs, it's all like broken up. But if you read parts of it, there's some interesting, like, I mean, you can get a good glimpse, especially with that whole thing about, what was it? Immaculate Constellation and having some secret, like, database. Well, clearly they have a database here, wherever. It just takes forever to load. And some of these Project Condyne files, they show like databases with 13 tables where they would put descriptions of UFO sightings or UAP sightings, really, and like 13 different differentiating tables of what they would put like different data into. I can't find which one it is. No. Here. but then in the document somewhere it mentions the 13 tables. Obviously this is like 90s database technology, but and then here it mentions how like nothing's changed since 1951, although it has. They're just UAPs. UFOs are just UAPs. Like everything is a completely different instance almost, although there's similarities, but they're just the same thing. I was playing around with this like deep AI chat thing and asking it about black triangles and stuff and seeing what it would tell me outside if I could catch it telling me anything outside of like the rote reactions or descriptions or whatever. And it ended up mentioning this Charles Triplet guy who I guess was a name given to this old, I think, Belize or Brazilian abduction where it was very gruesome and like he had his organs sucked out of like his arms and like basically some sort of tube entered in like four parts of his arms and I think his stomach, maybe his legs, and like sucked out his organs through these tubes and like cored out his rectum as usual and I think his tongue, his eyeballs, his ear, like his eardrums, and then but he was found in like running water, like a river essentially, a shallow river or just running water. And when that happens, usually they'll just chalk it up to being like an animal attack, even though the evidence doesn't suggest that. But allegedly his name was Charles Triplet, but like in the AI gave me like mentioned that, and then I had to do research, like really look because they've scrubbed that name, and it's hard to find much on that report anymore. That abduction mutilation really report, one of the only human mutilation reports, and it's just weird how like the AI will give out information and then it'll like be like, oh, I can't find anything about that. Um, I have that saved, like that interaction, and it's just interesting, like this connection between which I have a blog post I'll get to one of these days. What is it? Um, Monolithic AI alien invasion. But and that kind of connects to the day after Roswell and Philip Corso's testimony. Um, which anyway, I think I've probably said too much, but at least the video didn't cut off like last time. Just I've had to redo this.